My son kicked me out when I got old. He had no idea I had $10 million in my will, and now he's begging me to forgive him. I never imagined it would end like that. After all the birthdays I remembered, the scraped knees I cleaned, the sacrifices made in silence, what I received in return was a door shut in my face. It began on a Tuesday, gray and quiet, the kind of day that doesn't announce change, but delivers it anyway. My body had grown slower, breath shorter, knees reluctant. Doctors mentioned phrases like age-related degeneration, and I understood well enough. My time was turning, not stopping, just becoming heavier. I didn't ask him to carry me, only to make a little room. I sat at the dining table that once held noisy dinners and burnt lasagnas. He stood across, arms crossed, jaw tight. "I don't have space for you," he said, his voice of flat stone skipping across cold water. "You're on your own." No hesitation. No crack in his tone that hinted a doubt. He could have looked away, but he didn't. He held the stare as if trying to prove a point he didn't want to argue twice. He had his life now, his house, his work, his new family. I was just the remainder, an equation solved and set aside. He packed my things with a kind of methodical indifference, folding shirts I once bought him for school plays, stacking photo frames with the glass turned inward like the memories embarrassed him now. Not a single hug, not even the courtesy of a take care. My suitcase rested by the front door like a silent eviction notice. I left with the clothes he packed and the coat I wore. That was it. But what he never knew, what he never asked, was what I carried with me. He assumed I had nothing, that my bank account was dry and my hands were empty. I had spent my life in modesty, not from lack, but from discipline. Decades in real estate, years in careful investing, days spent reading market trends while others laughed at television. Behind that quiet living was a portfolio spread across blue-chip stocks, international holdings, and property in places his GPS hadn't even registered. 10 million, exact down to the cent, tucked away in silent accounts under my name alone. He was once the heir to it all. My plan was clear since he was a child, everything to him. The house, the savings, the assets. Even the antique collection in the basement he always thought worthless. I never wavered. But that night, the one he sent me away, I sat in a room no bigger than a pantry, offered by a shelter for the elderly, and rewrote my will in complete silence. The pen didn't hesitate. I listed every charitable organization that had offered me food, comfort, and even simple human conversation after he turned his back. I named them one by one, assigned shares of the estate with deliberate care. A nurse named Evelyn who brought me soup when I couldn't lift my arms. She received a car and $50, 000. The shelter director, who never asked why I was there, got the lakefront property. Every act of kindness, repaid in full. Every smile I got when I had nothing left, now answered with a gift they didn't expect. I erased his name from the will with a calm resolve. Not out of rage, not from vengeance, but because I had seen, with unflinching clarity, what he had become. A man shaped by convenience, not conscience. And there's no inheritance for that. Months passed without contact. I received birthday cards from strangers and dinner invitations from shelter volunteers. A small apartment became my haven, one I paid for in full without anyone needing to know the truth. I watched the world change outside my window and never once reached out to him. Let silence answer where words once did. Then came the knock. It was faint but familiar. I opened the door to find him standing there, not the same way as before. The arrogance had melted into something else. His shoulders didn't stand tall. His tie wasn't straight. There was no briefcase, no phone in his hand. Just him, raw and uncomfortable in his own skin. "Dad," he said, voice unsure, eyes darting between me and the doorframe like he wasn't sure if he'd be invited in. Can we talk?" I didn't move. I didn't need to. He cleared his throat, stepped back slightly, and tried again. I found out. About everything. I didn't know. I shouldn't have said what I did. I was stressed. Things were tight. The house, my wife. I let him trail off. Every excuse came wrapped in hesitation, like even he didn't believe the story he was building. He wanted forgiveness wrapped in fortune. Regret wrapped in opportunity. But the truth was, he hadn't changed, he had simply been caught unaware. I already did, I said quietly. He blinked, confused. I made things right, long before you came back. He understood then. Not just the money, he understood the weight of being cut off. He understood what it meant to be forgotten, the same way he had forgotten me. And there was no do-over. Some bridges don't burn with fire. Some collapse with silence. I shut the door gently. Not with anger. Just with finality. He came back 2 days later. Not with flowers or gifts or rehearsed apologies. This time, he carried a folder tucked under his arm, eyes heavy, hair uncombed. His posture sagged with something that looked like genuine exhaustion. Not the kind from work, but the kind that sets in when life starts catching up to a person who thought they could outrun it. I didn't open the door immediately. I watched him through the curtain, wondered how long he would wait. He stood there without knocking again, as if unsure if he even deserved the sound. When I did open it, he straightened, said nothing for a moment. Then, quietly, please. I stepped aside. He walked in slow, unfamiliar with the place despite its modest simplicity. His eyes scanned the living room, a bookshelf filled with borrowed titles, a wooden chair beside the window, a kettle half full with warm water. He didn't sit until I nodded. Then he opened the folder. Inside were papers, legal forms, typed letters, even a photo or two. He slid them toward me without explanation. I didn't pick them up. Why are you really here? He swallowed hard, folded his hands on his lap. I made mistakes. I know that doesn't fix anything. I can't undo what I said to you, how I treated you. But I need you to hear everything. He began talking. Slowly at first, then like the floodgates had cracked. His business had started falling apart 3 months after I left. Investors pulled out. A loan defaulted. His savings drained faster than he expected. Then came the lawsuits, 2 from clients claiming he'd missed deadlines. He'd used part of the mortgage to cover the company's losses, but when the market dipped, it wasn't enough. His house went into pre-foreclosure. His wife, who'd never liked the idea of me moving in, took the kids and left. He was now alone, living out of a studio apartment barely large enough for a bed and a table. But that wasn't what broke him. What broke him was the silence. He admitted it. Sitting there hunched and pale, he never thought I would cut him out of my life completely. He assumed I'd be angry, maybe distant, but eventually I would return. That's how it always worked before. He'd mess up, I'd forgive, and the wheel would turn again. But when he found out from a mutual acquaintance, someone from the local council, that I had donated millions to charities, and not a single cent was left in his name, something inside him collapsed. He didn't know whether to scream, cry, or beg. So he just waited. And when the waiting didn't bring me back, he showed up. I listened without speaking. He wasn't asking for money anymore. That part was clear. He'd seen the will, maybe not the details, but enough to know the full transfer had already taken place. He had nothing to gain now, and yet he still sat there, quiet and humbled. For the first time since he was a boy, he looked like he had nothing left to hide behind. I didn't think it mattered, he said after a long pause. I figured you'd always be there, no matter what I said. I thought I had time. It was honest. Painfully so. But I wasn't here to offer comfort. I gave you time, I said, tone even. Decades of it. I made space for you in everything I did. You had the chance to be more than just a beneficiary. You had the chance to be a son. He nodded slowly, eyes down. I know. There was nothing else to say. I let him sit a few minutes longer. He didn't cry, didn't raise his voice. Just sat there, still and quiet, while the clock ticked behind him. Then he stood, gathered the folder, and turned toward the door. Before he left, he looked back once. If you ever want to talk again, I'll be around, even if it's just once. I didn't answer. He left. 3 weeks passed before I heard from him again. This time a letter. Not typed. Handwritten in tight, careful script. No requests. No apologies. Just updates. He was attending therapy, trying to understand where he went wrong, not just with me, but with the people who left him. He was volunteering at the same shelter I once lived in. He didn't mention the will. Not once. At the end, he wrote, I know I don't deserve your time, but if this letter reaches you, thank you for being better than I ever knew how to be. I folded the letter and placed it in a drawer beside my bed. I didn't write back, but I didn't throw it away. Time continued its slow passage. My days became quieter, but not empty. The charities I'd supported continued sending letters and photos. Meals for the homeless, books for children, medical supplies for the elderly. Every dollar I gave away had found purpose, and that was enough. I didn't regret a single cent. Not when I saw the lives it touched. Not when I read the names of strangers who now had a roof, a blanket, a chance. They didn't know me, and they didn't have to. Months turned into a year. Then another. I saw him again, but not at my door. It was at a public fundraiser for the shelter where I had once slept. He was on the stage, helping organize donations. He didn't see me in the crowd. I watched from a distance as he smiled, genuine, not forced. His posture no longer defensive. He wasn't the man who turned me away. He wasn't the man who begged at my doorstep. He was something in between. Someone learning. Someone rebuilding. I walked away before the event ended. He never saw me leave. I never reached out again, and neither did he. But the silence no longer hurt. It had become something else. A quiet acknowledgement of everything that was lost and what remained. I lived out the rest of my days in peace, surrounded not by blood, but by kindness. The kind that asks for nothing. The kind that expects no reward. The kind I never received from my own, but found in the strangers who became family. When I passed, my will remained untouched. Every instruction followed. Every gift delivered. And my son? He received a letter. Not from me, but from the executor of the estate. It contained no money, no keys. Just a single page with 10 words. Some lessons are only understood when nothing is left. He kept it, framed it, hung it on the wall of the community center he helped build. Not because he wanted to remember the money, but because he finally understood what he had lost.